The Lion King.
You're like a movie star.
It ain't no Mo, I'll tell you that much.
That's true.
Looks like you're in Jurassic Park.
Finally, I'm small.
Hey, at least you're not a cat. It could be worse.
Erin, we're recording and live on YouTube.
Thank you. It is 7 o'clock and today is Wednesday, February 24th. Yes, February 24th. And this is a committee meeting of the whole for Village Council. And on here tonight, we have, oh, did we do roll call?
No.
No, okay.
No.
On tonight, we have council members, Rocky, DiBernardo, Rogoff, Newell, and Grube. Absent tonight is Ms. Evans, who is sick, and I'm sure Mr. Wybo will join us. Oh wait, he also cannot attend this meeting, I'm sorry. And then we have administration, CAO Rob Jameson, we have Mayor Tomko, we have Street Superintendent Mr. Brockway, we have Fire Chief the Honorable Zugan. We
Let's keep
have
messing up.
Finance Director Mr. Bloom. We have
Chief Dasek.
We have Police Chief Dasek. And then Glenn from the Water Department, whose last name is, of course, completely embarrassingly escaping me at the moment. And
Elliott.
I apologize, Glenn.
Elliott, there you go.
And so tonight we talked about the budget. So we're all in a good mood and this will be fun. So Mr. Bloom, Mr. Jameson, I'm gonna throw it at you two and we will go from there.
Right, I think Dave's going to start with the revenue side.
We will start with the general fund revenue.
Okay.
And just, I'll hit the highlights, and if you have any questions, this is in the back of your book. There's a tab for revenue,
Like how we're starting at the back.
starting in the back.
I'm bringing it up on the screen now. Give me a moment.
That is it. The main thing is if you scroll down or up, go down a little further, Rob, one more page. Part 2 of the general fund is up. There you go. If you look at the grand total for revenues in 2020 versus what we're projecting in 2021, it is almost the same. The only difference turns out to be that we got about $160,000 in rebates from the Bureau of Workers' Comp last year. And we're projecting nothing this year for that. And that's about the difference in the totals between the two. So.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
Dave, could you speak up a little bit or get closer to the monitor?
Sure.
You're a little soft, thank you. Or I'm getting hard of hearing, I don't know which.
Maybe both. So what we projected here is very conservative across the board. If you go back up a little, Rob, to the top of page 1 of the general fund. Okay. I just want to point out before we start, there are 2 things that we caught after the fact, after the year ended, where items were collected and paid in, but they're on the wrong line. So the first one would be if you look at ambulance service near the bottom, line 332. Right. It shows 88,000 revenues last year. We were missing one collection for 27,000, which would have brought that up to about 115,000. That's the actual amount. That's actually got paid in on line 322 up above. So it's in the right fund, it's on the wrong line. So ambulance service should be higher. And we didn't catch it in time to make a correction in the books. The other one is, again, I said we got 164,000 in rebates from workers' comp. Most of that is in line 398 on page 2, where it belongs. 34,000 of that, though, is on, not to confuse everything, 34,000 got put into line 328, other monies up above. So again, it's in the right fund, which is the main thing. But and that's why that number looks of too high, looks out of place.
Can you repeat that, Dave? This was money for reimbursement from workers' comp?
This is workers' comp. They gave everybody in the state really large rebates last year because of the COVID situation. We ended up getting 164,000 total for the year. But one of the payments we recorded, it's on the wrong line. It's on line 328. It should be in 398. Again,
Okay.
it's in the general fund where it belongs. It's just on the wrong line.
Got it. Okay, I'm with you.
Okay. Looking at the other things that we're projecting for this year, again, nothing out of line or nothing unusual. Just going down.
Dave, just before we get too far out,
Sure.
Can you explain what makes up other monies unclaimed and vending? Because we've got the workers' comp in there, but what other things go into that revenue stream?
Typically, that is for mainly franchise fees.
Okay.
The companies like Verizon, T-Mobile, Spectrum, they all pay franchise fees to the village for various things. That goes in there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. If you look at line 314, not a large item, but that is, just so you know, that is where we're putting the money that we're getting from the schools for the SRO, School Resource Officer. That's going there. They're paying again. It was low last year because of COVID. They didn't pay for at least 3 or 4 months. We didn't have anybody up there.
Okay.
Again, not a major item, but if you look at the cemetery items or cemetery lines, 316, 17, and 18. We're projecting a little lower this year. Just to remind you, we're putting about 20,000 or 25,000, taking out of that and putting it in cemetery perpetual care.
And those numbers were high last year because we had some mausoleum purchase grave sales, and those were it's a large amount of land, so the price is actually pretty significant for the families that choose that type of burial
Right.
option. So that's why those numbers seem skewed, and they're looking at a more traditional number in that line, just for context.
Correct.
Can I ask a question back about the ambulance reimbursement costs?
Mhm.
Like over the last few years, we're looking at 140, 150, 160, and then it drops to 120 or 115 in
About
2020.
150, 120, right.
Is that just like based on who we happen to transport and insurance reimbursement, or like what sort of dictates that number? Because that ends up being kind of a big drop when you look at it as like a $50,000 difference.
Okay.
All of the above, Aaron.
Okay,
There you go.
just
Pretty
wanted
much
to,
a combination of all those factors.
that helps. Okay.
All right. And dropping down onto page 2, you'll see the income tax. That's our main revenue source. We're projecting very small. We're actually projecting a 2% decrease to be conservative. And then we'll get into it more later, but we're shifting a little money, at least on this budget, between the street fund and the general fund. So we reduced the revenue for income tax in the street fund by 125 and increased the general fund by 125. But overall, we're projecting a 2% decrease for income tax.
And Dave, just for the record, so everybody can follow that 125 that we're switching basically offsets the new gas tax revenue that we're getting as of last July, and the 125 that we're taking out of the street fund and replacing it with the gas fund is going to the sewer fund, which is what we're using to hold down increases in the sewer rates. That keeps our sewer rate from going through the roof. It keeps the street fund funded adequately and exactly where it is. And lastly, it almost exactly matches the amount in total that we bring in by the 20% surcharge on water and sewage customers outside the village limits.
Does that make sense to everybody?
You know, I've heard that 3 times, so now I'm getting the grasp, but the first time I didn't.
No, I'm a little unsure. So we're taking money from the street fund and supplementing the general fund but we're breaking even on the street fund because of the new gas tax. Is that
Right.
correct?
Correct. We're offsetting the amount of money that we're getting, new money that we're getting from the new gas tax. We're offsetting that by taking that money out of the street fund. So the street fund stays at the same level of funding it always was. And we're using that monies to hold down the sewer rate increase. And that was what was in that huge presentation we made 2 summers ago on how we could do all of this and afford it, pay for it in the wastewater treatment plant without having huge increases in the surcharge.
When we get gas tax dollars from the state, we are required to put them into the street fund. Like it's not really, it's not optional. It has to be used for that.
Right.
So
Right.
it's sort of like the cup's overfilled by 120. So we're,
Yeah, but I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this, and we're not propping up the sewer department for like its active treatment of sewer
No,
waste.
no,
with
no,
tax
no.
dollars.
It's to pay the bonds, Rocky.
Great. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm 100% clear.
Yeah,
that
you're
we're not propping
100%.
up
Yeah, no.
non-residents with
No, none of this
residents'
is going
money.
to sewer operations. Sewer operations are fully funded with the sewer revenue. We're
Yeah.
taking on, when everything is said and done, we're going to take on I don't know, maybe $4 or $5 million worth of debt. And so it's got to be, and the only reason we can afford to do that is today's interest rates. I mean, at 0.5% for
30.
yeah, 30 years. I mean, if we were paying the historic cost for 30-year borrowing, which would be like 6%, I mean, forget about it. It wouldn't be affordable.
Right. I just want to make sure we're not propping up the
No,
day-to-day
none of
budget.
this. Guarantee that.
Good.
okay.
Okay, I don't have any other things to point out for the general fund, but I did want to mention, if you're looking for it, the COVID money that we got from the federal government is on page 5. It is not in the general fund. We had to set up a special fund just for that. And that's where you'll find that. In
Okay.
B21 near the top,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see that just under 270,000. That's how much we received in total.
Okay.
So the money went into that fund and it was spent out of that fund. So it's just wasn't commingled with the general fund or anything else.
Can you give me that line number again?
It's fund number B21, line 387.
Okay.
Good. That was one of my questions, why this was new.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we never have to see this number again.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Any questions on general fund revenue? If
Anybody?
not, Rob, you can take it away.
All right. Getting to our operating budget, we'll start with the general fund departments. And as we've done in the past, I want to start with the simplest departments first. We'll probably start with fire, then move to police, then utilities, then streets, and then I'll wrap up at the end with building and the various miscellaneous accounts that we have.
Can I ask one just kind of general question before we get rolling on
Sure.
this?
Sure.
If there's anything that we put off from last year buying that we are, that we desperately need, if something were to happen and we have to cut the budget back again,
Yes.
just point out anything that would be, isn't going to make it another year. We absolutely have to, get this
I
done.
think there's only one thing in that category, Rocky, and that may be the police cruiser.
Yeah.
There's one capital expenditure that's in there, and it's almost small change, and that's we've got to rebuild the planter in front of the village hall. It's literally falling apart if you look at it, and the village steps are also falling apart. And we thought we would jump on that as soon as we get the budget approved, so that we can do it while Village Hall is closed, as opposed to opening Village Hall in order to close it for the replacement of the steps. All the other stuff, we're going to wait till later in the year before we buy, just to make sure that the revenue's coming in as projected.
We have a new dump truck proposed that was pushed off from last year to this year. And we're probably going to look at purchasing that in the later half of the year once we're sure we're on solid financial footing. That's about $180,000 expense, and the truck wouldn't come till next year anyway. So that's a really good buffer item to use as a kind of a fail safe in case we do have any dips in revenue. So we have some other items that have some flexibility, but everything that we put in the budget are items we would like to do. Some are more critical than others, and we can get into that as we proceed through the details.
And we'll keep doing monthly budget meetings in order to watch that income, the revenue streams, just to make sure that we are all on the same page in terms of our comfort levels.
Yeah. There's no reason to buy it now, so we're going to wait till later in the year, and then we'll place the order. And if everything is going as forecast, and if not, we'll look at what we're going to do then.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Jameson.
All right.
Or Honorable Frank, I guess.
I'm going to move right to the fire department side. Now, the way I'm going to present this, I'll show the numbers first, and then as each department head goes to speak, we'll get into the details above, and the department head will go over the detail items that are presented up in the notes. So, Chief Zugan, are you ready?
Yeah, Rob, you want me to go over each category or just the notes up above?
We can just go over the notes and then hit the numbers after if you like, if you think that would be.
Okay, sounds good. All right, as you all know, mine's pretty simple, but we'll start up at the top there on page 2, the contractual service. That's the first one's for $3,500. That's for the Sherman Southeast Hazmat team. Hopefully you all remember that this is a regional team with 19 communities that we receive hazmat response from. And we also have the luxury of having a mutual aid contract with the Heights Area Rescue Team that goes along with that. So for $3,500, it's probably the best deal in town, no doubt. Pumper lease, that's you guys lease the use of the corporation's fire engine, so you don't have to buy your own. That's been in existence for as long as I can remember, as long as I've been here. And the accidental death and policy is a split item with the Suburban Corporation, $4,500 charge there. And we also split the testing of the air compressor for our SCBAs with the corporation. Marks radio fees, this is the standard fee for our Marks radio system. I'm sure Amber will hit on that too when she brings hers up. And we this year we decided to go with a maintenance contract with the Spring Valley Dispatch. They offered maintenance contract to all communities that are in the dispatch center. Again, this is probably about 40% less than we're paying prior to. So this is another great deal in my opinion. We also split the hydrostatic SCBA cylinder testing. Those are the air packs that we wear, the air in our backs. We have to test those every year. So we split that with the corporation also. And I'd like to get the air ducts cleaned in the station. And that's for that charge there. This is kind of
very
cool
logical
stuff, you know.
Yes.
Any questions on contractual services?
No.
All right, just some basic operating expenses. Again, these are all split items with the corporation. So again, this is a pretty cost-effective way to do things. All of our Class A uniforms are the ones that you see us wearing in the parade, that type of stuff. And then we also split boots, gloves, protective equipment, hoods, any type of repair on all of our gear. We'd also like to buy a couple multi-gas detectors. This is a annual purchase. They don't last very long, but we like to split those with the corporation. And just some various rescue tools throughout the year that we replace. We also split that with the corporation.
What's a multi-gas detector? Does it tell you like what kind of gas people smell when they call with ambiguous statements like that?
Yeah, so it detects natural gas, it detects carbon monoxide, detects hydrogen cyanide. Yeah, so the gases that hurt people and kill people. So those are really nice little tools to have.
Just curious.
It's not in the emergency operations plan, so.
It will be though.
Right, exactly. So any other questions on the operating expense? Okay, capital outlay. We're in our year 5 of our computer upgrades. This is mostly for fire prevention. Actually, Fire Marshal Finley has to charge his computer up twice a day, so he needs a new one. And these are also the iPads for myself and the fire marshal when he does field inspections out in the field. So I'd like to do that. Turnout gear is also another split item with the corporation. This is a yearly purchase. We replace all of our main frontline gear every 10 years. So this is just an ongoing expense. And unfortunately, they're getting expensive. SCBA masks, again, we split that with the corporation. Those are the masks we wear on our face with the air tanks on our back. And we'd also like to buy some bottles. Again, split with the corporation for $3,500. And our
Do
standard
those bottles
purchase.
have a vintage on them, Frank?
Yeah, they actually last 15 years is the shelf life for them.
How old is
That was a joke, Frank.
It wasn't?
It was a joke. Vintage.
Oh, I gotcha. All right.
Are we adding to our collection of bottles or are we replacing?
Replacing, yeah, these are the ones that are going out of service when we replace them as they go out. So this is an annual cost. You weren't probably around when we wrote a grant and received a grant from the federal government 13 years ago, and it's for about $180,000, and we purchased all brand new SCBA's, masks, bottles. So we're trying to be ahead of the game so we don't have to replace them all at one time.
Makes
Smart
sense.
move.
Yeah. An annual fire helmet replacement. These are for new members coming on. And if we damage any of them, again, that is split with the corporation. The next one is a item that we postponed last year. Extrication equipment for the truck. We would like to split that with the corporation. We're going to debate this a little bit down the road, but this would be an upgrade to all battery operated extrication equipment. I know we're having a conversation about Tiger Woods before. This is the jaws of life, the spreaders, the cutters, that type of thing.
I was going to ask that exact question.
Right. They just took him out of the windshield with an axe, so they didn't use the jaws of life. So any questions on some of the capital outlay?
No. It looked like you had some additional money this year for travel and education. Are you trying to ramp up some additional skill sets or just out of?
Yeah. So what we're trying to do, and I started this back when Ben was the CAO, and the mayor and Rob have both kindly endorsed this. I'm trying to get all of my junior officers through the Ohio Fire Executive Officer Program. Currently, right now, we have John Catani, who just graduated. This is a 3-year commitment by these gentlemen and ladies. And we have another one that was just accepted. That was Lieutenant Jesse Fan. So that program, it's about $3,200 per year.
Okay.
So it is expensive, but in my opinion, it is well worth it. You know, get these guys in line to compete for my position when I decide to leave.
It's very similar to what we do in the police department, and I'm a
Yeah,
firm
it is.
believer in investing in our people.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I just was
Yeah,
curious
it's
what sort
good,
of,
good analogy. That's the Quantico when they send the police officers down to Quantico, Virginia. But this is our program.
awesome. Any questions for the Honorable Chief Sugan? I'm
Love it.
gonna go with it. Makes you so happy.
Okay.
Okay, then, thank you for joining us this year.
Yeah, some more sections.
Yeah, I got a couple more
Oh, you
sections.
do?
Yeah,
Ambulances and
working
Sorry.
equipment.
Yeah,
right?
ambulance.
I was ready to let you go.
All right, so if you turn to page 3, that's just one line item there is the ambulance service. You have a 3% increase this year, and is $408,000, I believe. Yes.
Mhm.
And that's a contracted amount, Chief?
Yeah, it's a contracted amount. You're in year 2 of that contract now.
What you're also seeing here, since you didn't ask the question, I'll answer it. You're seeing the insurance companies ratchet down the amount that they're reimbursing, and you're seeing the costs of providing the service going up. So we're getting 120,000 of reimbursement against that that cost. So it's an increasing issue. There's some insurance companies that aren't paying it at all, in which case you have to go against the individual. So just FYI.
And collecting those fees is done by the staff of the fire department?
Yes and no. We prepare everything and we send it to Life Force, who is the company that we've contracted with to do all the billing and reimbursement for each village. And the mayor is right. Unfortunately, that money is slowly going down for the reasons he did state. And another reason we had a little bit more a decrease of last year is COVID related. A lot of people lost their jobs, lost their insurance, and don't have the money to pay. Although we do send them to collections, it is a process that we go through with the billing company to determine who and who doesn't go to collection. So, to answer your question?
Yes, good answer. I've got a good handle on it.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so if we flip all the way to page 8. Under contractual services, the third line will be fire department garage door, photo eyes and reverse strip. This is another item that I deferred last year that I would like to take care of. These are original to the 1984 doors. So I'd like to take care of that if possible. And if you go down to the capital outlay, we'll talk about the turnout station gear room. That was another deferred item. I'm gonna just not talk about that right now. I'm gonna go up to the LED light upgrade. I asked 2 of our firefighters to get some estimates to retrofit the LED, and they had I guess it'd be a study done versus fluorescent versus LED. Maybe John can chime in on this because I think they did it down at the service yard. And actually, he did help us with this. So we'd like to replace the older style fluorescent lights in the bays, retrofit them with LEDs. And basically, I mean, cost savings is going to be roughly about 25% in operational cost per year. They estimated we spend about $3,300 just to keep the lights on, those fluorescent lights, and they drop all the way down to $750 a year. Excuse me. So this also with that gear room.
It actually will pay for itself, Frank, which I think is the point, because those LED lights are supposed to last 10 to 12 years at a minimum. And you do that difference of savings over that time frame versus the 15,000. We do get that money back.
Yeah, and it's they estimated almost a 5-year payback but the nice thing is, talking to Rob, there is some PUCO grant money available for utility, and he can probably explain that a little bit better than I. So there's a possibility this can be totally paid for by a grant, so which is even better.
Yeah, even better. Because we'll get the savings.
We had the NOPEC grant money that was put in escrow last year. We didn't have a project to apply that to. So we have that funding available to us this year, plus whatever new amount NOPEC deems that we're eligible for. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to cover the cost of that project,
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
showing that we have the energy savings.
Mhm. So going back to the gear room enclosure, if you guys remember, this was a total package of the exhaust system, the lights, and this gear room. The older stuff, Western Lights, degrade our gear. And if you remember, if you walk by the station, you see all of our gears exposed. It's not enclosed, so we wanted to put in a room to enclose everything. Well, if we upgrade these lights, there is a possibility we won't have to do such a large room, but we would still like to add some locker space, because once we do this addition, we're gonna lose probably 15 lockers. So we're gonna debate this in the fire station with the corporation members on what we want to do and what's best. This probably won't happen until mid-year. So there's a chance that number will be cut in half. But in case that we decide to do it, I needed the full amount.
Okay.
Questions on that?
Anybody?
You guys are being easy on me tonight. All right. I think the last thing I have, flip all the way down to page 25. Almost there. One more, right there. Okay, the first line, fire truck testing and service. This is the annual aerial ground ladder and pump testing that has to be done for ISO. And I think that is a standard charge every year. If you go down to the tire category, we're going to need some tires for the truck company, which is about $3,000. And then new tires for car one. Yeah, okay. That's it on those two categories. Pretty simple.
When Jan called me about not feeling well, she did ask me to mention on her behalf. How are you feeling about the fundraising efforts? Because I know the expansion is a huge priority, and
Yes, it is.
we need to look at some support from the village, like just, begin that conversation, because we're worried about you guys.
Well, funny you ask. We had obviously COVID messed with a lot of stuff, including our fundraising.
Yeah.
So we had to basically shut everything down last year. Our event was shut down. And we've had 3 meetings with the fundraising committee. We just had a Zoom meeting yesterday with our leader, Rob Falls, who's heading up this fundraising campaign. And they switched everything over to a campaign style, and you're getting away from going to an event to raise all the money at one time. And he's taken a little bit of a Save the Grove Hill angle here, since they were so successful in such a short period of time. So they're designing an entire campaign for social media. There'll be a video production crew over at the fire station for about 2 days, on about, I think, beginning of April, to get everything squared away. So you're going to see a barrage of stuff probably by May, for the fundraising. So right now we've raised about a third of what we need, and I'm pretty confident that we'll get our goal or close to it. The unfortunate thing is the construction materials are through the roof right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll come down a little bit. But, as far as the village helping out, and the mayor's been absolutely awesome, helping us out in any way you can. This is a combination project with the police department remodel. So we're kind of, trying to do it together, but the corporation, is paying their part of it. So I don't understand what you mean by village support.
I think she's referring to dollars. I mean, I'm passing this on from Jan, so I'll have her connect with you.
Okay. I think I might know what she's talking about. She talked about this a year ago. And it's approaching each community for a little bit of a donation, since each community would benefit from it. Not raise the entire amount, but have each community kick in a little bit of funding for it. And she mentioned that she wanted to try to pursue that, if I'm guessing correctly.
Okay, well, we can.
That's for all you all to discuss, I guess.
What's something we can continue to
Yeah,
explore?
I would be curious to see how your fundraising goes after this latest push, now that happens. And I guess if it still seems like the community takes for granted the fact that we have fire protection, which is unfortunate. I mean, anybody who does fundraising knows it's sometimes hard to not to fundraise for things that, firefighters are supposed to be sexy, but I guess it's not sexy. I don't know.
Right.
So, but I can see the approach of trying to find support across the communities, because you guys have been working really hard at getting this project done for a long time. That's just my 2 cents. So.
Well, I appreciate that, Angie. Thank you.
Anything else for the Honorable Chief Zugan?
Darren's not here to enjoy all this.
I know, right? You can watch us on YouTube, because we're a YouTube sensation.
Right.
It's true. We're going viral tonight. It's the plan.
We are.
Okay.
All right, if we're done with the fire department, we'll move on to the police department with Chief Dasek.
Thanks for coming, Frank.
I want to hang around a little bit, just make sure you guys are straight and narrow.
It's more exciting than C-SPAN, Frank.
Yeah. Amen.
Chief, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Okay. So I will hit the high notes on our, the 3 accounts listed in the notes page. So starting with the contractual services, I mentioned that we're in the process of hiring 1, but preferably 2 part-time officers this year. So that first cost there, $3,500, is the psychological and physical. Hopefully that number, I'd like to come in under that, but it just kind of depends on how many candidates that we have to put through the process. The promotional exam and assessment, that's $6,400. That'll be happening next month. Actually, next week is the start of it. Animal control for $1,000. Essentially, we farm out when we have public property animal problems. Private property is charged to the resident, of course. Our veg membership is $10,000. That's a recurring fee each year. Range contracts, again, $1,500. That's recurring. The police network support, the Honorable Chief Zugan referred to that earlier with CBD. So essentially, we're just contract with them to help us with our CAD and RMS system when we have trouble. Leads, that's our access to run license plates. That's a recurring expense. Mark's radio service, same thing, $4,650. Radio maintenance, that's a contract, again, that we have with CBD just to take care of any programming issues that we may have. Lexapol is our policy program. We've had that for, I think since 2018 is when we started that. So that's going to be a recurring cost each year as well. The K-9 officer village contribution is the same as it was last year. Again, that's more for healthcare issues beyond what the donated services provide.
How are you feeling about that program? Is that working well?
I think so. I mean, I've gotten no negative feedback, that's for sure. He has gone out on a couple of call outs. This whole year with COVID, not to digress too much, but I don't think this is necessarily a good year for determining how great the program is or is not, because everything has been kind of low key this year. So, but even having said that, he has been called out several times. So, from my perspective, it's going very well.
Okay.
Frontline House Watch, that's the program that we rolled out last year where people can register their bikes, their pets, and do their own house watches. I believe that program is working very well. This record storage and removal, this is one to highlight because it's kind of a big tag, but we're going to get all of our records out of there so that next year we don't have to pay anything. So right now we're paying for storage of records that we should have destroyed years ago. So that's kind of been an ongoing project for us, and we'd like to just get them all out, bring them over to the shoot building, and then start going through them. And then the report to web, that's just so we can upload our accident reports to the web through TAC Computer. TAC Computer's our RMS system, records management system. Any questions about 439?
Who's our range contract through? Or who's that? Where's that at?
So we primarily use Hunting Valley, but we also use Top Guns Outdoor Range, which is in Middlefield.
Yeah.
So we don't necessarily have a contract with them. It's more of a per diem use, but that the money would come out of that particular fund.
Okay.
All right, so the 442 computer upgrades, that's just general for, we have multiple workstations in our office area. So, we use that to upgrade if we have computers go down or if they've just hit their shelf life. Ammunition and range supplies, that's kind of a recurring cost. Obviously, we have to practice and qualify each year. We did get some money by trading in some guns. And so we're going to use that to offset. Hopefully we can offset some of that 3,700 with that. Taser training supplies. So we have to qualify with our tasers as well. And we use a different cartridge to do that. So that's what that costs us for. The EladTech software, we've been using that for the last, I think 2 years. So that's going to be a recurring cost. It's a very valuable program. The forensic cell phone searches. So we've been putting this in the last couple of years, and I don't know that we've used that amount. So the forensic cell phone search would be if we had a case we were working and let's say we needed to get like a tower dump, those can get very pricey. Back when they first started doing that, they were free, but then now they've started charging police departments for that. So this is one where we may not spend that, but it's better to budget for it in the event that we do need it. The radar sign app, so that $3,000 would be for 2 signs. So we currently have 1 sign and 1 application subscription. I'd like to purchase another sign this year and then add another subscription for that sign. MDT purchase, we have MDTs in each of our cruisers.
What does MDT stand for?
Mobile data terminal. So that's the computer we use to like run license plates and get our calls and whatnot.
How many you get for that 4,500?
1.
Okay.
Yeah. So this next one should say, I don't know how Uber got in there. That might be an autocorrect thing, but it's backup drives and labor. So that's it's me to find a way home after a night out.
I was enjoying the Uber, Amber.
Is a backup driver or Uber? Okay.
I sometimes like to be driven around. So no, that should say, it should say backup drives and labor. Again, that's for our network and our computer situation. The Guardian program we've been using for a couple of years. That's a software program that tracks personnel items. So we use it primarily to track, if you have a counseling session with an officer, or, if you have an officer did something well, we can track it in there. It's searchable. You can set, performance flags. So, if there's a problem, it'll alert you that, hey, this person's had 3 negative inputs or 3 positive. It works both ways.
I got one question about the backup. That's offsite backup, correct?
Are you
No,
back
this-
up?
Backup drives.
No, those aren't the offsite.
Okay.
Those are on-site.
Okay. We have offsite backup somewhere? Hopefully.
We have.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Angie.
I think, didn't we just do that contract with the fiber? Wasn't there backup in that, in the fiber network thing that we just approved, or no, for the police department? Or is that not?
That's our in-house stuff.
It's no backup offsite?
No.
I'm not sure. I don't believe so.
Okay,
Well, that we'll have to discuss
sure,
because
we'll discuss.
we worked with Ascendex for backup of the administration. The
Yeah.
police have to have their own separate
Right, their whole
computer
network.
systems.
Right.
But we'll speak to
Yeah.
that under Dave's section.
Okay.
But does the police department have offsite backup? I guess is my question.
We have a limited amount of offsite backup through CVD, but I believe we looked into backup with CVD, and it was extremely expensive.
That was when we decided to cut back on some of our archiving of video, Amber, to cut down the sheer volume. We were basically keeping the video for, as I recall it, almost ever. And we cut that way back to what we thought was the, with some margin of cushion, the minimum that we needed to be safe. So we've cut down the amount. I thought we were storing what we needed offsite at dispatch, but I'll defer to you on that.
Well, so some things are, yes, there is some backup at dispatch. I'll get an answer to you for you before the meeting's over. Let me check with Lisa and see exactly what things are backed up there.
Yeah, I mean, just in case there's a fire or something,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right. We're not gonna lose everything, right?
Well, and we're also, so there's also access through our RMS provider as well. But
Okay.
if I'm finished, I'll text Lisa and get a specific explanation for you. She's my techie nerd.
You don't have to bother her at night. Like you
Yeah.
can call back
Yeah,
up at the
yeah.
next council meeting.
This is,
Yeah.
It's not a
this
tonight.
isn't budget
Okay.
so much as just procedural conversation.
This is not an
Right.
urgent.
Okay. All right, so any other questions about 442? Okay, the last one was the leather and holder replacement. That's just, again, like our duty belts and equipment holders on the vest carriers that they wear. Okay, so capital outlay. That's that first one there is a radar feedback sign. That's the sign that you guys have seen that collects the data for us. We were supposed to get 2 last year. Those are 2 items that we deferred due to COVID, so we didn't end up buying any last year. That's something that could be deferred again this year if we had to. We can hold off on buying that if you guys want to wait and see, how the year progresses. It's just nice to have more than one because we get a lot of requests for that during the summer.
And that's the cost, is that price just for one of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Taser replacements. Our tasers, the shelf life of a taser kind of depends, but we try, rather than buying them all at once, we're trying to, replace them 2 or 3 at a time. So the taser replacement is the cost to replace 2. Again, we would just basically retire the older versions and buy upgrades. The radar unit, the handheld, we currently have 1 handheld unit. Aaron had asked a question earlier about our radar situation. So we have dash mounted radar units in all the cars. The handheld is a nice option when you're sitting at a 90-degree angle to the road. So we have one. Ideally, we would have two. Let's see, ballistic vest replacement. This one, so we get a grant that is a reimbursement grant for a percentage of the cost of the vest. This year we put the total amount into the 452 because there seems to be a lag between the reimbursement. At least this year there has been. So there will be money coming back in out of that 5,400, but I put it in that account just to make sure. I didn't want to put it in the other account and then not have the money there to take out. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
when you get the reimbursement, the $5,400, is there a plan then to use it for something else, like buying another radar sign or?
No, we use it to buy vests. So normally in years past, we will schedule, and maybe Dave knows the account number off the top of his head. We have an account set up for the BVP reimbursement. I think it's one of the B accounts.
It is, right.
Yeah.
But
It's B3, it's on page 14, B36 actually on this sheet.
Oh, okay, there it is.
Right there at the top.
Mhm.
That's the vest fund that we use, law enforcement reimbursement.
Yeah.
so we have purchases that we made last year that we're still waiting for reimbursement for. So when we get reimbursed and it's not 100% reimbursement portion of it. I want to say it's close to 50%.
I think it is 50/50, right?
Yeah, except we don't get reimbursed for the carrier, so we get reimbursed for the panels. Anyway, long story short, the money that we would get from that grant would then go back into that B36 account, and then next year we would buy any replacement vests out of that account specifically.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Portable radios, there again, we're kind of cycling through and replacing them. Our radios are several years old now. So rather than, again, wait till they all go bad, we'll just replace them a couple at a time. The Marks radios for the clerk's office, we currently have a 400 radio in the clerk's office. We have one Marks, but then we have one 400. We want to replace that 400 because it's basically obsolete. And then the last line in there is, that was added before we made the decision to take that off the table. So that LPR, $10,000 for the LPR camera system, obviously, is not going to get spent. So any questions about those accounts? Okay. Any questions about any of the other A11A accounts?
Not for me.
Okay. Oh, Rob, hold on one second. One thing I'll point out, because we have two training accounts. So we have our A11A 420. And then we also have, we budgeted 8,000 this year. And then there's another CPT account that's a separate account. We can only spend that money on certain types of training. So I have 3,000 in that account as well. And that's another one of those special funds. It's on the page 14.
Same thing.
If you look under the B760442. So I've been trying to spend that money down, but again, it's very specific. It can only be spent on training and only for specific types of training. So we're kind of limited in what we can use it for. All right, so if everybody can flip over to page 5. 5 is, relates to parking. So we have, the money that we use to pay the part-time parking officers comes out of there. Obviously, we've scaled back their hours pretty immensely this year. So that estimate is based on the numbers from this last year, because we're expecting a similar work schedule for them this year. Let's see, 439 is more Rob's stuff, and it's, I would say, self-explanatory. The operating expenses, that's the software program, the AIM software, batteries for the meters, parking ticket, replacement reels, and then in 452, we put in 5,000 for parking meter replacements. If, you know, I would say we won't spend that money until we start, you know, like kind of getting back into strict enforcement of the parking. But there are some meters out there that do need to be replaced. Any questions about parking?
Nope.
No. Okay. All right, page 6 is just one thing on this page is mine, the mayor's court software. That's the software we're using now for the to take waivers on tickets. Any questions about that? All right, if not, then go to page 8. On this page in the A17E 452, if you look down at the bottom, the Village Hall and Police Station security camera system for 20,000. So our security system is reaching its shelf life. We are going to need to replace the server. It's not a matter of if, but when. It's working right now, but it could literally go anytime. I know our camera system for that shows us the lobby and outside, that particular workstation tower keeps freezing up. It pretty much has to be rebooted every 2 or 3 hours. So again, that's something that we can delay if we need to wait and see how the year goes. We delayed it last year or didn't spend it last year, but we're just kicking the can down the road as far as that particular expense.
Yeah.
Is this including additional cameras in Village Hall too? Because it says Village Hall and Police Station, or is it just at the more the police station side of the building?
Yes, it was going to include some additional camera equipment in the entrance of Village Hall.
Yeah, we were going to get some in front of Katie's office.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably appropriate.
Yeah.
The primary expense with that is the server. So the cameras at this point are, I mean, they're not cheap, but they're relatively inexpensive compared to the cost of the server.
So will the police station then be able to see any of the cameras in Village Hall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the server would record the,
Okay.
it would record the data as well.
Personally, I think that's something that I wouldn't like to see delayed because there's probably some lead time on it. So, you know, if it goes out, we're going to be without security in the police station, without cameras in the police station.
Yeah, I think we'll go ahead with that. It's not a big dollar item, and unless we collapse into an economic collapse, it's not going to make much difference in the overall budget.
No. That's an easy.
And I think also, again, that camera is what covers our safe exchange space
Right.
that we provide really anyone that wants to sell something online, because one of the two parties is coming there with cash and the other one's coming with something valuable. And there have been numerous instances where people have been robbed going both ways. So we offer a safe place of exchange.
Yeah, I was going to offer the same thing. That's why I think it's a priority. It's the one area in town that we advertise as a monitored area that's safe.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with getting that right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. If you go to page 15, we budgeted 5,000 for the K-9 program. So this is in addition to that earlier 3,000. This particular 5,000 is still coming out of donation though. So our plan, hopefully at some point this year, is to do some sort of fundraiser for the K-9 program. We're not sure what that looks like yet with the COVID situation, but we'd like to start thinking about how we're going to replenish those funds going into the future. And we have had individuals, indicate that they're willing to continue assisting with the program into the future. So we'll look for ways to do that later this year. As far as the expenses, it's the 5,000 would be for training aids, emergency vet care, public relations fundraisers. So, we've talked about trying to do some more PR stuff with the dog once we can get out there and actually do it.
I volunteer to be a test dummy if we can get out and do something.
Ouch. No. Whoa.
I've done it once in the past.
You might want to ask Dennis to see his arm after a training session before you volunteer for that.
I've done it once, so
I think we just found our fundraiser.
Right? People get paid to watch them get bit, right? So.
Yep.
Don't forget, we have to verify that the tasers are working.
Ooh, I've never been tased.
And this is why we are a viral YouTube sensation.
Exactly. The jokes are great.
I'd rather be tased than bit by a dog, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
All right. The last thing that I have is page 25, and that's the police patrol vehicle.
That was the car that I was referencing, by the way, when you ask about deferring things till later in the year. I think this is one that we have to do sooner rather than later.
Yeah, so we didn't buy a vehicle last year. Normally we try to do one per year. That way we don't have a year where we have to buy multiples. For whatever reason, 5 or 6 years ago, we did buy the 2 sedans that we currently have. Those were purchased the same year. Those are both out of warranty now. So replacing one of those this year and then one next year is, going to be crucial. So, I mean, they're still running, but again, the longer we delay it, the more likely we're going to pay to repair them. So,
and are we replacing them with sedans, or you wanted? I know you talked about going to the Tahoe. Are you still thinking about that?
Yeah. So most of the police package vehicles have gone away from the sedan.
Because it's more ergonomical for them getting in and out of it 300 times a day.
Yeah, I will have to say the sedans are not, I hit my head every time I get out of it, and I can't imagine how our 6-foot guys do it. Some of them love the sedans, but there's just not really a good option out there right now for the sedan. So we're either looking at another Ford, or we've talked about trying the Tahoe just because, we've had some issues with the Ford. So I don't know, everybody has their preference and there's issues with all of them, but we're just going to try to find what works best for us. And that 50,000 mark doesn't factor in the trade. So we never know what we're going to get for the trade until we actually, get a quote for it because of the mileage and whatnot. So hopefully we don't spend that full amount, but.
Something to think of, Amber, is put that on Gov Deals.
The patrol vehicle?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that and comparing it once we know what the trade would be. So we would quote it out, the price we would get from the dealers. We would ask for a separate price for the trade, and then we would use that as the minimum and throw the unit on Gov Deals. And if we get more than that, then we're money ahead. And if not, if we don't get that reserve, then we trade it in.
Do you have to be police people or a police department to buy a police car from Gov Deals?
No, you don't. Because the vehicle stripped down, it's no longer a police identified vehicle when we get rid of it.
Didn't you see the Blues Brothers?
Okay, that would be fun. We should do that just because it'd be fun. Can you talk a little bit about your decision to stick with gas vehicles? And you and I had chatted, but that gas vehicles versus some of the hybrids that are coming out, and obviously we're not ready for fully electric, but
Well, I guess my only concern, and I'll be the first to admit that I don't know enough about the hybrids or the electric cars to be anti, I'm not. My only concern has been the drain. So we are, but I don't know if you guys noticed ever driving by the police station, the hood popped up and us jump starting the police car. The equipment in the police cruisers sucks the life out of the battery. And I guess my concern is if it's an all electric car, is the equipment going to drain on that? Now, I would hope that if they're designing electric cars for police use, that they would factor that in and compensate for it. I guess I just don't know enough about them.
Yeah,
I
I'll
don't-
chime in a little bit on this. Rob and I have been, discussing this and looking at it. I think we all feel that, you're pushing the technology a little bit now, maybe in the 2023 range. In other words, 2 model years down the road, I think there's going to be infinite improvement in some of the technology and reliability. The second thing is, you may recall in the police station modernization plans, which is part of the fire station, we have provided for electrical service for 2 recharging stations. So we are anticipating that in the future. I just think we're rushing it a little bit, and I don't think we want to get onto the bleeding edge of technology. I'd rather be on the leading edge of technology, and so are really sort of deferring any electrification vehicle decisions until 2 years from now.
We are paying close attention to the technology and seeing what agencies are doing trial, runs with vehicle purchases, and we'll be in touch with them as time goes along to see what their experiences are like.
I think Shaker just rolled in their first electric vehicle this week. They just had it announced on social media. So,
Yep.
And that's one. So, and they only have one. So I think
Staff vehicle, yeah.
Right. But as someone who's owned an electric vehicle for 4 or 5 years, I can tell you that there is a drain on the battery from the internal electric components, that if you run the heat very high, you can run your battery down very fast. So that is a very valid concern and something to look into for the police, all the police technology that goes into those vehicles. I think that California is using Teslas for all of their police vehicles, but again, agree, we're too tiny to be leading the charge on this. So.
Yeah, I mean, we all would love to do it, and we're trying to cut electrical usage as much as we can. Witness the
right
fire chief's presentation on the LEDs.
Absolutely.
Excuse me.
I was reading recently about those Tesla police cars, and what they've started to find out is that the vehicles that are sitting right, they're doing their patrol, they're looking for their traffic stops. The drain on the battery as the car's just sitting there running the air conditioning or running the heat is causing them to have to go and recharge and come back up. So they're not getting as much cycle time out on the road as they are, as they would in a regular gas powered vehicle. So there's
Hey guys, can I suggest we're getting a little bit we're getting a little in the weeds here. Can
just
we
took the
get
words
back
out of my
to
mouth, Mr. Newell. I was going to say, I appreciate Amber. I just wanted to acknowledge that Amber had sort of looked into this piece of it, or was starting to, and the mayor and Rob are aware. So, okay.
Thank you.
Chief, what's next? Is that it?
I think that's it for me. Last thing I'll say is I will look into that offsite backup. I know we had some discussion about it a year or 2 ago, and there was some substantial cost to do like a full-on offsite backup. So, but I'll talk to Lisa and figure out where we're at and get an answer for you guys.
Thank you.
Have a lovely evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Should I stay or should I go?
You're welcome to spend the evening with your family.
All right. Well, you know what?
That's awesome. If it's your family that lives in your house, that's also perfectly fine.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. Next on our list is Glenn Elliott, Superintendent of Utilities. We're going to start off with the water fund operation, followed by the sewer fund.
All right. Hello, everybody. We'll start on page 21 with the, all of this stuff is basically recurring contracts and services that we use. Lab work, contracted excavations, And I added in water leak detection this year. We've been hitting the leak detection pretty hard over the last year or so. We have our own equipment, but this is for a professional leak detector to come in and kind of help us out when we struggle to find water leaks that don't actually surface.
Mhm.
In 452, safety equipment, clamps, pipes, that's all recurring. I have a valve nut replacement system. What this is, we have some old stuff in the ground, and this would allow us to replace a valve nut from the surface without having to dig the valve up physically. We can remove the old nut, put a brand new one on, saving a ton of money digging and, road repair and everything else.
And some man hours too.
And some man hours too, absolutely. And then plug hug hydrant cleaner attachment. We borrowed one of these a couple years ago from the city of Mayfield, and we were able to paint all of our fire hydrants in 10 days.
It's a great name too.
Yeah, it's about 600 hydrants we did in 10 days.
Wow.
Granted, it's not something that we do every year, probably every 2 years we'll be doing it, but it'll make the fire hydrants look a whole lot nicer and keep them obviously clean, in better operating condition as well.
It's an excellent process.
Yeah. I'm guessing that 20% clerk salary is because we have to pay Katie.
Yes, we, just to let council know, we did rebalance how Katie Knopf's salary is distributed. Before it was distributed just between water and sewer. And because a good percentage of her time is also spent in the building department, we did change some percentages around and shift this cost to the building department to more adequately and accurately affect her workload.
And we're trying to reflect expenses and income as accurately as we can. And this is just part of that.
Okay, E150420 contact hours, that's continuing education for the operators at the utilities department. We're required to have a certain number of hours of continuing education every 2 years to maintain our certification. EPA fees, that's the government getting their money. They get that every year. And the water well study work is, we're contracted with Egon and Associates out of Columbus. We are looking at our Franklin Street well field to determine the sustainability of that well field and the ability for that well field to supply the village with water on its own, or how much we'd have to supplement that well field. And hopefully at some point we can get rid of the city of Cleveland and not be dependent on them.
We're going to have to stay with Cleveland to 2034. That's the expiration of the contract. I think, and I've said in the record, anybody that's here in 2034, the number one objective is to eliminate the minimums that we have to pay. And we do have another well site approved by the EPA up next to the water tank if and when we have to drill. And we would anticipate that there's another maybe 100 to 150 gallons per minute available from the potential site that we have in mind, which would be 3 wells, each producing 50 gallons a minute. So we have never had a professional study of our well field done before, and this contract was entered into with Egan, I think, what, 2 years ago, Glenn?
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so this should be the last year of the monitoring, but I think it's really important information because we were all flying in the dark before.
Okay. Any questions on any of that?
And Glenn, are you done with water?
No,
Okay,
we
sorry.
have supply yet.
Gotcha, sorry.
Page 22. Yeah, page 22.
Got it.
Okay, so Cleveland Water, that's our minimum take, 625,000. The rest of this, let's see, meter calibration's a yearly item. Data command monitoring, that's our pseudo SCADA system for monitoring the well houses, the reservoir levels, pumping cycles, that kind of stuff. Sodium chloride, that should be sodium hypochlorite. That's our chlorine cost, liquid chlorine to treat the water.
Is the gas going to be any cheap? I mean, excuse me, the liquid, you're feeding liquid now, right?
Correct.
Oh, this is for distribution. All right, excuse me.
Yeah, that's for our system. That's basically coming out of the well fields on Franklin Street. We feed sodium hypochlorite and then we supplement at the control house on Washington
Got it.
with that as well. Computer upgrades, we got a half split cost with the wastewater side, 5,500. I've since determined that we do not need to replace all of our computers. We can get away with 2 versus 5. So that number is going to be considerably lower. It'll be about $4,000 versus 11.
Okay.
On that. Any questions on any of that?
Glenn, while we're tied to water, I want to just touch on water revenue.
Okay.
We're all about water. If you go to page 7 under the revenue section of your book. And up here we have our projections of water revenue. Water rent is the regular water invoicing for people's usage, customer usage. New connection fees, bulk water sales when we have people that pay for permits for bulk water use, construction projects, pool filling, etc. Meter rental is the meter charge that we impose for use of our meters that we use to pay for the upgrade and for the eventual replacement. Our water tap-in fees are when there's new tap-ins that are projected into the water system. And then just another category for miscellaneous revenue that comes in. So we try to predict revenue in the water area on the conservative side because actual water use varies depending on whether we have a very hot, dry summer, and a lot of people use a lot of water for keeping their plants and grass looking nice. If we have a particularly wet year, they use far less. Also, from year to year, people are utilizing more water conservative appliances, toilets, fixtures, etc. So we want to try to project on the conservative side and then hopefully come out ahead, which we have in our past. So we feel confident about those numbers.
Okay. Any questions on the revenue? Nope.
And
Okay.
while we're on the revenue page, before we get to sewer operations, I'll touch on sewer fund receipts or revenue predicted for that. We have the same sewerage service prediction, new connections, cost for new tap-ins to our system. Transfer in is that's the $125,000 transfer that we spoke about earlier in the meeting. And then just a general miscellaneous.
Why is the new connection fee? So why are we expecting so much revenue there? Is it just
Brick house and
brick
some of the
house?
other constructions.
Yeah, we look at all of the known new tie-ins and impact fees. I can get you a breakdown of that if you like.
Oh, no, that's fine. I just was surprised that the number was so high. I didn't realize there were that many new connections coming in.
Did we raise those fees recently?
Yes, yeah, the connections fees were raised considerably.
Oh, that might be part of it then.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Sure.
Okay.
You could do that. Sorry. Thank you.
All right. And we will go back to sewer fund.
Because we're all good with water.
Yep.
All right. So the sewer fund, page 23, again, much the same as it is every year. Contact hours for continuing education and training. Geauga County Department of Water Resources, that's a yearly thing, but we pay Geauga County for some of our residents up on Coy Lane using their sewer plant. Contracted excavations, same thing. Safety equipment, manhole rehabilitation, those are recurring. The manhole rehab, we're just replacing lids and castings that are leaking as part of our I&I project, coating the inside of manholes to help prevent storm water and such from entering. Gap vac jet hose, that's a new hose for the gap vac for cleaning the sewers. North Main lift station generator replacement. That we had a rodent infestation in that generator at the North Main Street lift station, and it just completely chewed apart the control panel for that generator. We had two companies come out and look at it. They both refused to repair it, saying it just needs to be replaced. Everything's out of warranty with that, and it was just that bad a shape. Winding River lift station generator hookup. Right now, we do not have a hookup for our portable generator to that lift station, which means we have to pump it manually when we have a power outage situation, like we had, this past year. We were having to run over there every couple hours with our vac truck and suck it out and run it to the wastewater plant and dump it. $4,500 is a little on the expensive side. What they have there, they don't have three-phase power in Winding River. So we have to put in a transformer to convert the 220 power to three-phase 220. So that made that price a little bit higher.
Winding River, is that Gray Fox?
No, Winding River is off of Miles Road. You have
yeah, okay. What's
right
the
near Bramley
subdivision?
Court and right in the corner there,
Oh, okay. All right, I got you.
right on the bend.
Right.
Manhole water sampler. We've filed an application with the EPA for a Mercury variance for the wastewater treatment plant because we've been unable to meet the limit set by EPA for mercury. Part of that variance is going to be monitoring out in the system to determine where the mercury is coming from. This device will be able to pick up composite samples from the manholes throughout different times of the day, so we can determine where we're getting it from, and then we can address on how to eliminate it going forward.
Are you going to have to test every individual sample? Probably would, wouldn't you?
Not, well, yes. I mean, every sample, what we would do is we'd collect a composite sample over a 24-hour period and then sample that.
Or test that.
To find the
Right, test that, I'm sorry. That will let us know, okay, we're getting high mercury some point during the day in this line. And then we can look at,
right.
What businesses, residents, whatever is on that line and what could possibly be, contributing to the mercury.
Because what's the cost of a mercury test at that detection level?
It's not terribly pricey.
Okay.
I don't know the exact cost off the top of my head. I can get that for you.
No, that's all right. I was just curious.
But again, it's not a, it's, I'm guessing less than $100.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's not one of those $1,500 tests. So we're doing them now with the wastewater plant twice a month. So yeah, it's not terrible. North Main Street lift station CPU upgrade. That is for the data command monitoring up there. It's just a new CPU that needs to be replaced so that we can monitor that station. Any questions on those? All right, so now to treatment, wastewater treatment. Again, EPA fees, sludge fees, yearly cost. lab work, sludge disposal. Let's skip sludge disposal for now. Lab work, meter calibration, miscellaneous service, data command, bioassay. Those are all recurring yearly costs that we have to pay for. Sludge disposal fees and agri-sludge startup. Along with the Mercury variance, we applied for a permit modification to allow us to land apply the sludge we produce at the wastewater plant. I was told by EPA that we should have final okay sometime in April or early May.
That paperwork, Rocky, before you ask, was submitted last January of 20.
Right.
The federal government, I don't expect anything to move fast.
Yeah, so I mean, we're almost 18 months to review the paperwork.
Yeah.
But
I'm
they're not
excited
paying.
if we get to do land application of the sludge. Like, I think that's the future of how all of this is going.
Well, it saves us on the hauling costs, right, Glenn?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Agri-sludge is setting up a field for us out on Route 44 near Ladue. It's like 44 in Bell Street somewhere, or 44 in Winchell Road, in that area. So, you're talking an hour and a half round trip versus 4 hours round trip now.
In
We're going-
good weather and no
Yeah.
road construction, 4 hours round
Right.
trip. It can.
So-
it
Now,
can
are we
be almost-
using our vehicle to haul it, or is
Yes.
it agri-sludge?
No, we use our vehicle.
How's it applied? As a solid, just dumped out the tailgate?
Yeah, well, we run it through our press or take it off of our beds
Yeah.
into the truck. They're pouring there's gonna be a gravel pad or whatever they have to do to get the site ready. We just go out and dump it. And then the farmer comes and spreads it.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
yeah, there's no labor involved for us. It's just back up, dump and go.
Really an advantageous plan if we can recover.
And the price I have from them, I had them update their quote for me, is $18.50 per ton. Right now, dumping at Quasar or Waste Management, we're paying in the neighborhood of $42
Plus drive time.
plus drive time.
Yeah,
Wow.
and that's not an insignificant number, guys, because you got one operator for that truck. He's tied up in addition to the truck for those hours. That means that manpower isn't available for other things in the plant. So
Yeah.
that's why I said that the sludge thing is a big deal, and we're doing everything we can to get the cost down.
Yeah, bringing it to Geauga County sounds much better than, 4 hours away.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I mean, that one plant was almost in Worcester that we were taking stuff to. And
Yeah, we're driving, we're going to Waynesburg, and we have a spot there was one in Worcester, and then there's one in Collinwood.
Okay.
That we're using. So
Good job. Thank you.
this will be much better.
Yeah.
Okay, door replacement. All of the man doors at the wastewater plant are about to fall off. So $4,000 will replace 1 or 2 doors at the plant. We're gonna go through, I'll go through with CT and determine, what doors aren't gonna be included in our refurbishment and upgrade projects, and start replacing these aluminum doors. The bases and stuff are just rotted out of them.
Are they so expensive because they're specialized, or is that just what doors cost and I don't know what doors cost? And you can say I don't know what doors cost.
Yes.
Okay.
They're all aluminum construction. They're commercial grade doors.
Okay.
So
They'll last us a good 50 years in the way we roll.
these have lasted 50, so yeah, I don't see why not.
Thank you.
Okay, operating expenses, plant materials. Rob, what is that?
No, I think that's,
I read plant materials, are like, we're not planting anything.
No.
I mean, is that the
Garden.
Rain gardens? No.
the sodium bisulfite and the
it's probably all of the. all
okay,
of
so
those.
yeah, so our chemicals
I just combine them all together as one expense.
Okay, so we feed polyaluminum chloride for phosphate removal. That is a pretty pricey chemical. It's about $11,000 for 6,000 gallons. And then for a short period of time this year, we will have to feed hypochlorite and sodium bisulfite for chlorine addition, then chlorine removal. We are going to be putting the UV system in sometime this summer. So once that's done, those chemicals will go away.
Oh, nice.
That should have read chemicals, not materials. My apologies.
That's okay. We figured it out.
Yeah, I think, guys, that number will go down dramatically, and the power usage will go up somewhat. So we feel it's net going to zero out. If it may be a net cost reduction, it's just going to wait till it get the UV system up and operating and see a bit. But it's clearly going to be an operational benefit and a huge safety improvement, not having all that chemicals around, and just a hell of a lot easier.
And it'll give us more room in that garage since I can't get my my vehicle garage.
Yeah, well, also, Glenn, for council's benefit, we would have to upgrade that building to meet the new chemical containment requirements,
absolutely.
which would have been a huge expense.
But fortunately, UV light will prevent that.
Correct. So it'll
Correct.
save us the chemical cost. It'll save us upgrading the storage facilities, which I don't remember the number, but I think it was pretty close to like $100,000.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense. Capital outlay?
Capital outlay, pump shaft repairs, just a placeholder for any pump repairs we have to do at the plant. We talked about the computer upgrades before. I'm only going to have to replace 1 or 2 computers, not all 5, so that number will drop. Primary flights, that's our primary clarifiers have, basically they're just boards that scrape the bottom of the tank to pull the sludge back to the pump area. Those all need to be replaced, and they're not included in any of the, upgrades and rehab that we're doing.
Okay.
So it's $7,000 for the parts, and the guys at the plant will be able to do the labor. It's a fairly simple process. Final tank influent gate. Hard to describe what that is. One of the gates that lets water into our final clarifiers fell off. It just rotted away and fell off. So we had to pump down the
It's okay.
tank.
So new gate. It's okay.
Yeah.
You
So
can-
again, the parts alone for that tank are $10,000, and we'll do the labor on that.
All you had to say was it fell off.
It fell off. Yeah.
Fell off and won't go back on. We get it.
That's it. You guys are all welcome to come down and look at it. Come climb down in the tank with us.
Last time I was down there, you were using a sign as like the chute in that first part, like off to the right.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for hillbilly ingenuity. So
well, you can have a new gate. It's okay. You can go there.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Power washer. We have a power washer now that's on its last legs. It's about 20 years old. We'd like to replace that. Sand replacement in the filter beds.
Yeah.
We have sludge drying beds. I think you've all seen them, and the sand on there needs to be replaced. It gets caked with solids. They don't drain properly. It's been 10 years since that stuff's been replaced. So we're going to go ahead and try and get that done this year. Again,
Explain the cost of that, Glenn. It's a special sand that's what, $70 a ton or something?
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood, 68 to $70 a ton. The $36,000 is for 3 sand beds, sand only. We will use our equipment and manpower again to remove the old sand and spread the new sand. I want to say it's like about 100 yards per bed.
So has the freeing up of the man hours with the new meters been able to help us complete more of these projects in-house?
Yes,
We're getting more out of the man hours that we do have.
we are. We've been able to do a lot, with the I&I program, having guys go out and smoke and dye test different areas, the leak detection. We fixed a bunch of leaks that we didn't know we had.
Yeah,
we were able to get on this right away.
And I've heard really good feedback from residents who've had you guys out for leak detection in terms of the friendliness of the staff and the guys' willingness to work with the homeowners. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. That's one of the things we kind of pride ourselves on is, what we can do for the public.
Well, and I've got one question on the filter sand. Is the disposal cost included or with the filter sand?
It is not included, and that sand will go to one of the landfills that we're using currently. So I guess you could say that cost is included in the sludge disposal fee, that $25,000. We've already got
on the roads, save some money on salt.
Yeah, you can do that.
Don't have to clean the sewer, so
you gotta pay the EPA fines.
Yeah,
on that note,
you'd make the river really pretty with all the algae that'll grow.
and the three-legged frog. Okay. So anything else? It's okay. You don't have to give us more detail on the sand. I trust that you will buy the right.
It's not real good for building sand castles.
Aaron, we were going to take a truck over to the backyard so your kids would have a beach to play in this summer.
Awesome. My neighbors will thank you.
Tomatoes are free.
Yeah, we're always trying to think of you.
Okay, now that we're all getting a little punch happy, and
All right,
we're thinking about a stand at the farmer's market this summer.
Tomatoes.
And this is why we're putting C-SPAN out of business. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, and the last thing I have here is the auto samplers. We have 3 auto samplers at the plant. They're original 1991-92 equipment. And they need to be replaced. So they're about $9,000 a piece. They pick up what we call composite samples. So they're flow paste samplers. Our flow increases, it collects samples more often or larger volume. It's just something we need for operation.
Sounds good. And then any other questions on the sewer fund, or can we go into working equipment? Okay. Because we have a utilities truck, right?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a couple things in working equipment I have. Contractual services, the Mack truck dump truck maintenance. That's an annual check, make sure it's roadworthy. Something we may want to start thinking about, it's not imperative right now, but that Mack is about 20 years old. So we may want to start thinking about replacement in the next 5-10 years.
Oh, okay. We can think about that in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, they're pricey vehicles. It's a tandem axle truck. So, what else do I have here? Utilities department pickup, 2009, 3/4 ton pickup. We want to replace. We were going to do it last year, and we put that off. And then I have a power inverter for U19, which is our leak truck. We need it's a 12 volt to 120 volt inverter, so that we can have a hydraulic chainsaw that we use on water main breaks, and we need to keep it heated in the winter. We have different power tools that we use on water main breaks and what have you, impact wrenches and whatnot, so we can store those in that truck with the battery chargers, etc.
Okay.
Lights are working at night.
On the vehicles?
And I think that's it.
Okay.
Any questions?
No. Okay, well, Nancy, do you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay, you set 4, it just, I didn't
Oh,
want to,
no, just.
I didn't want to silence you, so. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Elliott, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, next up is John Brockway with Street Superintendent. He has 14 different sections of the budget, which is why we.
Like a former street superintendent.
Yes, there's quite a few of these will go quickly though. So starting at cemetery on page 3, and John will take it away.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go line by line. We'll be here till midnight, so I'm gonna hit the basics. So under 439, those first 3, they're all just annual maintenance things. The turf maintenance, it only went up $1,875 this year. Under operating expenses, we got just Hillside area and Memorial Circle. Memorial Circle's the center point of the cemetery, and there's been a long range plan. That's where our new columbarium went, and another 4 will be put into that place. So we're going to be landscaping these 2 areas. The Hillside areas are the 2 areas, I forget the sections, like 49 and something by Harris Mausoleum, where we extended the sections, and we're going to be landscaping those.
By the cul-de-sac and then right behind Harris.
Yeah.
If that helps.
So our mapping program, it's really outdated, and the guy that does it is just, he's self-employed, and he is the one that came up with it. So it's been an ongoing process since Rob's been with us. And we've been trying to get maps put in there, and they said that they can't do them. So we put 20,000 in there to try and start converting over to a whole nother program that Rob Arnold's going to be looking into. So that will get us started, and it will be, and can be accessed by computer and all this by other people. So
Yeah, what we have is at the end of its life, and the guy is like 80 years old and has this audacious desire to retire for some reason. So we're sort of living on borrowed, no pun intended, living on borrowed time in terms of how long the software is going to work. You're welcome for that one, Jim. And yeah, I think we need to spend that money. And there was about $80,000 in cemetery revenue last year. So I think some of these are some reasonable expenditures in that department.
my next account is on page 4. It's parks. Basically, the top part is all ongoing things, our mulching of all our beds, the organic landscape bed maintenance. That is a subcontractor that does the bed maintenance for us, and he does use organic. It's not glyphosate or Roundup. It is an organic material that he uses.
Good nature, right?
Well, he used to work for Good Nature.
Oh, okay.
Good Nature does our fertilizing of several of our smaller parks.
Okay.
So this is just a bed maintenance part.
Gotcha.
The urn plantings, I think that's the mayor can answer that one. I think that's the
shared cost
fall
with
one,
the,
or is that during the summer?
I'm sorry, John, I was talking, I didn't hear you.
Is that during the summer or is that the fall?
The urns plantings are in the summertime, and then in the fall, they put some greens in there. The merchants pay half the cost of the program, and we were paying the other half.
Okay, all right. The invasive weed treatment, obviously that is River Run Park. We have several invasive plants that we've been eradicating and getting rid of. The dog fence replacement. So the fence that runs parallel to the street department is the dog-eared fence. That will get replaced along with the split rail fence. It will become a 4-foot vinyl fence. So a little taller because we've had some complaints. Dogs are getting out. And it will run the whole I believe, the whole length of almost a parking lot, say. And we'll have one big service gate for that. And that will be all re-landscaped and leveled off and stuff too. So hopefully we won't have holding water and everything.
Yeah.
The Grove Hill fence, that is the fence between the municipal, what we own, and the owner of 3 West Summit. The Whitesburg Pond treatment, just a yearly treatment for all the algae and cattails and all that. Under 442, Riverside, and like all the other parks, just replanting of plant materials that have been dead and adding to. We've done a lot of enhancing with plants and all that. Our annual flower baskets that we hang.
Typically, the I think it was
Dogwood.
Dogwood Garden Club gives us $5,000 towards that cost. So I assume they will be doing it again.
And I guess what I should add, this year, it did jump up a little. We've struggled with the flowers the last few years. We did change companies, and what inside the planter is going to have like a plastic, sort of like help to hold the moisture in there a little better. So, because they're drying out.
Yeah, I thought the plants last year looked particularly good. The year before is the year we had to take them down in August because they look so doggy.
Right. You know that we've always had them up before Memorial Day. So a lot of people don't realize these are starting to get grown in January or February, and the plants only regenerate themselves like 3 times throughout the growing season. So as we start them earlier, they're not going to have the longevity like some other flowers into October. So that's why we pull ours down a little more, because
It feels like a good balance for us though, because Memorial Day and
it was always to enhance the village for blossom time. So, and things have changed too there, but on to the next page, page 5, under forestry, our regular tree planting program and tree removals. We're going to be planting 50 trees were allocated for this year. We got on order at a nursery, and the Arborscope software entries, that was a program that it really determines, like, I got my notes here. It's a database program for tree lawn trees that get a tree tag attached to them. And the ID number in the program will have the tree name, location, size, and condition. It's a big management tool for maintenance and risk evaluations. And this way we can go to a laptop or a computer and look up something and keep an update throughout all our trees now. It's starting the whole program.
What it also will give us an opportunity to do, guys, is track which type of trees and species does the best in what type of location, so that we, will know what not to plant in certain places and what we can plant in other places. And I think it will dramatically improve the tree canopy, as well as reduce costs in the long term, because we won't have to be replacing so many trees. But it'll take a while for us to get to that data entry point.
Under refuse collection, 439, that's the solid waste recycling contract. That's for Kimball. That's all Kimball's costs and that.
And I do want to make note that the tonnage for processing of recyclables has gone down from what it was last year. So the markets are slowly improving, and I think we did hit rock bottom the previous year, and now we're climbing out of that slowly.
Are we in year 4 of that contract? Isn't it a 5-year contract?
No, we have a couple years yet. And then we have an option for 2-year, 1-year extensions.
Okay.
I'll give you the breakdown on that.
I think it's year 2 or 3, Aaron. But
I think it's 3. I think we're 3 right now.
Yeah, I think it's 3 too.
Okay.
Our yard waste removal, that's our leaves getting hauled out of the service garage every leaf season. Under 442, that's our annual garbage bags are every year. That's the receptacle cans around town and that. And then basically every 2 years, I've been ordering doggy bags. That's at all the doggy stations throughout town. Under parking, A16F 439, the street sweeping, it's split up between like the plaza and the streets downtown. So that's half of the cost of the street sweeping for the full year. My next page is page 6, under sidewalks, the 439. It's just concrete. That's concrete repairs that are in the downtown area. We've been doing obviously some up by the bank, and we've done if they're into a crosswalk area too, we've been putting the metal ADA pads in there to replace them from those plastic ones. So next one is lands and buildings, page 8.
This is always a big one.
So lands and buildings under 439.
The porta potty.
Yeah, just so the big one, like the chute building replacement, that is an air conditioning unit that was going to be replaced last year. We held off. That is, it's not up to, it's not working like it should, and I forget what it is. They changed the argons or something. It's R2 now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's the coolant, John.
Yeah, I don't know what so that's why they got to change other things. The security monitoring, that's for all buildings, and that's the monthly costs of every building that we have, and that's all just rolled into one. Placement. So the interior painting of the chute building, that will all get done. So then we can start putting up the shelves a lot better to store records and that. Replacement garage doors and parts. I wanted to get an extra barrel for our garage door in case that goes down. It would be an open garage door, and I don't want that to happen. So we would have that on hand just to secure it. And then it would be a replacement of garage door would be put onto our lean-to as well back here to secure more areas on our lean-to. Bell Street concrete pad, that's that area by the old Mario's that is going to become the pizza place. That'll be the pad underneath the brick. So it'll have a concrete pad, and then they'll put the brick at the top for their patio area.
Just so council knows, we're still in the negotiating process with the building owner there. Regardless of the outcome of that negotiation, we still need to have a concrete pad to replace the old pour surface that was there. So this expense would be incurred no matter what we do with that.
Yeah, what I think what her plan is once we pour that pad, to use some of the Falls Road brick that was salvaged. So she's got a historic brick to go with the historic building, and the actual wear surface, if you will be brick, not concrete.
Are we still leasing that little piece of
Yes.
property?
Yes.
Is the property owner still paying us a
Yes.
lease?
Yes, they are.
That's crazy. Okay.
We're in the process of negotiating the terms of that right now.
Okay.
We'll be bringing that to council when we're ready.
Okay,
All right.
keep going on.
Yeah.
Under 442, our flags are the normal replacement, and landscape materials for Village Hall. That'll be on the west side of the building. We're going to be re-landscaping that and adding all new material.
By the parking?
Yes,
Okay,
the
sorry.
parking and up against the building as well, and by Harry's office.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. Under 452, the big one is the Village Hall front steps and planter rebuild, as the mayor spoke about before, that once the budget is approved, we have talked and addressed that right away to get that.
And will they still be brick like they are now? Is it sort of like a repair of what we have?
Replacement of what we have now, but yes,
Look.
the ideal is it'll look the same.
Okay.
The footer is really going bad underneath. It's really deteriorating too.
Yeah.
So
Aaron, you're here in Village Hall with me. Look at that planter when you go out the door. It literally is falling apart. I'm just hoping it stays together till we can get somebody in to re-put it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
replace it.
Rob and I were talking about it earlier. It's in pretty bad shape. I just was curious because I know there was once upon a time talk about putting the porch back on Village Hall. So I just was curious what the.
I'd love to do it, but we don't have the money anytime in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I think porches cost a little bit more than $25,000. So
yeah,
another day.
Page 11 is my next account, the road repair, street maintenance. The two asphalt and crack sealing, that's our annual in-house road repair and crack sealing program. Snow and ice removal. It's our just put money in there in case we have to haul out from downtown area, because I bring tandems in to help us haul out so we get it all done in one night. The plaza and the parking lots, we're able to basically haul it out ourselves or with smaller trucks that we get. Under operating expenses, our yearly salt cost, and that went down considerably this year. It went down $23.08 a ton, so we saved about $30,000 right there in salt costs.
I do want to mention that salt costs do vary greatly based on how severe of a winter you had the year before, supply and demand. So we've seen this cost really roller coaster up and down through the years. So one year we'll get a huge savings like this, and then another year we'll run into where the prices skyrocket and we're paying a lot more. Also, it has to do with the amount of salt we have on hand and left over from the year prior. That all comes into the equation of how much we plan that we have to buy in the following winter season. So we're on the good side of the numbers this year.
Conveying it into the shed, into the dome, it's just when it starts getting filled up, we got to get it shot up into there. So I put money in there.
Is it safe to do that still? I know the condition of the dome is deteriorating with the salt and metal over time with corrosion. Like, is it still safe to shoot it? I just don't want someone getting hurt.
Yeah, instead of getting it, what we used to do is get it piled. I get it conveyed now, so it's not hitting the roof as it goes in. So, and it's not breaking it up into like a powder. So the conveyor just shoots it on top of the pile that we already have.
Because we're going to be in a pickle if that dome comes down.
Right.
Literally, there's salt. Like, I'm just all about the puns tonight. Sorry.
We really got to start looking in because nothing, the way it's held on is the weight of it onto that concrete. I mean, if we get a big wind like the Wizard of Oz, it could go flying.
Okay, let's not worry about that today.
That's capital improvements. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a month.
Our liquid de-icer cost, that's we went into enhanced brine this year and not aqua salina.
Thank you.
We're no longer using any aqua salina.
Right.
Yeah, we're done.
Our snow equipment parts, just an annual thing, and liquid de-icer storage tank. We want to get another one down here because you have to empty one in a way that you have to wait to order 4,000 gallons you're waiting. So this way we can have one empty and one full. Our Ohio EPA storage, our stormwater discharge fee, they just put that in there because that's our annual fee to stay in compliant with the state. So we just want to.
Yeah, and John, this is a year that we're going to have to upgrade our plans, but the Watershed Partners is working on that.
Right.
Okay. Under contractual services, we deal with the county for all our stormwater outfalls. They test between 10 to 15 a year for illicit discharges. And we have found 2, and one's been corrected, and the other one, Glenn and his crew's starting to camera and stuff and get that one done as well. So That's like sanitary going into stormwater is what that is. Our annual culvert cleaning in case the Vector doesn't get into Senlac for us. It requires a lot of extra hose and stuff. So when it gets silted over into our streams or our culvert areas down there in Senlac. Under operating expenses, just our annual regular casting lids, just a regular annual fee. And we're replacing a generator for our work crew, just a smaller generator for there. Next page is traffic signals, our annual street and parking lot striping fund, and the utility pole light outlets. That's the JCs, I think, we're working together with them to put in some drops on utility poles that aren't there to light up holiday trees. So under 442, that's our street name poles. That's the ones with by the stop signs and all that. We are upgrading to the larger size and the black and the white. So LED conversion kits, all of downtown is done, but now I want to get Bramley Court and Pear Tree and Falls Walkway. So that would complete everything what the village owns for lighting. So everything would be LED converted over.
We're talking, Rob and I met with the First Energy representative, and he's supposedly getting us some information about getting all the street lights converted over to LEDs. I recall the amount of the savings in electrical cost would pay for that program in less than 8 years. So there's some potential big savings there in converting over to the LEDs.
The traffic light pole repair, that was a semi-accident that was at Washington and Maine. We'll be getting reimbursed for that once is installed, and we receive that. It's the whole skirt part on the bottom.
Yeah. And John, you also have some beginning to start on the program of repainting some of those decorative poles. Am I correct?
That's coming up in the next section here. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So the village entrance sign, the mayor's brought out some things. Our entrance signs will be duplicated, but just with newer material. These are made out of wood and they are deteriorating, so we can't even paint them. And the entrance posts will be updated too with probably like a vinyl outside skirting part of it. So the repainting of the traffic light poles, that's all the light poles, not any of the ornamental light poles that are downtown, but this will all the intersections that have the traffic lights on them and the ped button poles.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the first of several years, because a lot of these decorative poles are badly in need of maintenance and painting. And if you just touch them up, they look like a Dalmatian because the paint has faded. These were installed in 2005, so they've been sitting out there now for 16 years. So we just want to not let it get to the point where they all look like hell and we have a huge bill in 1 year. So we'll start a regular annual program of getting those done.
Okay.
That cost does include the 6 poles on West Washington, Mayor. So those will be getting redone because those are the oldest ones.
Yeah.
So that cost is included.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nothing lasts forever.
Right.
The traffic cabinet at BP, that's the one that's been giving us problems. It just was in last year that we held off, along with the turn arrow installation at East Washington and Philomathian. The school zone flasher, that's been brought up, and it is, as you're coming off of Ridgewood heading towards the school, Amber has gotten several complaints and people have complained to Village Hall and Rob. So we're looking into doing it either a flasher or signage, whatever would be under the state law, Rob, right? Is that what we?
Yeah. No requirement. We would like to do a flasher to meet the other two directions of travel.
So under street cleaning, that's the curb street sweeping. That's like all of the streets around town. Under service garage 439, that would be the inside of our service garage, all the painting, our annual hoist and lift inspection as a repair, and the skylight replacement. That was in last year and we held off. The skylights have been here forever and 2 of them are leaking pretty bad and we've had them caulked several times, so just need replaced. Under operating expenses, a locker room, we doing little at a time. We built a locker room over into the garage and like a second story for storage, and the basic computer that would be over for the garage area. We don't have that one there now, so it would be a new computer because everything's going almost digital and the guys need to look up stuff, and we only have 2 computers down here between Mark and I. So the retaining wall, that's obviously the wall that's been falling down and we've been putting off every year, so get it done this year. Next page, 13, administrative and other, just our regular training to keep in compliant. Jake and I have license and I send Rob and John Famagelto for cemetery stuff, so they get updated on a lot of things and stay into state records. Uniform service, that's all our uniforms throughout the cruise. And our work clothing, that's just like our winter wear that we get additional. My last one is under working equipment, page 25. On the home stretch.
Okay.
Good. All right. So under 442, our leaf machine parts, that's just an annual cost. We did, because of the storm, when we were looking into purchasing a chipper last year, we were going to get a diesel. They had a gas one that was available, and I checked with the company, and if we rented it and if we purchased it, it would go towards the cost of it. So that's what we did. We ended up renting a gas Vermeer one like we wanted to in the diesel, but we really loved it. So that's what that cost was for the big storm damage. And then down below under the 452, we ended up purchasing the chipper. So the brush hog attachment, that's for like our wildflower areas that would go on our subcompact tractor. Utility trailer is just a very small trailer, so we can get our riding mower on there and don't have to bring the 12-footer around and the bigger trailers around for the summer help. A grapple attachment, that's almost like a clam type implement that we already purchased it. We used it up in the cemetery to pick up all the down limbs and brush and stuff, and we have more to clean up, but it saved us a lot of labor on just pulling it out by hand. Under tires, our normal replacement tires on our loader backhoe, the leaf machine, and we need some for our smaller equipment tires.
Mhm.
Under the capital outlay, like I said, we purchased the tree and brush chipper. I want to mention that they were gonna only give us like $3,000 to $4,000 on a trade-in for our 24-year-old chipper, and I sold it on Gov Deals for $11,500.
Wow.
So
Deals is the best. Good job.
that's why I'm saying about the police car, but we really have made some decent money because our equipment's stored inside, so that's a very positive thing. It's nice. So
Don't worry, I'm going to call you tomorrow about the village exterior signs on Gov Deals.
Our dump truck, it was held off last year, so put it in again this year. That would be 3 out of 4. So next year, hopefully we can get our 4th and final one. And we want a dump trailer for the street department. We have one smaller dump truck, but this dump trailer, we could utilize it a lot.
What's a dump trailer? Like, just pretend I don't know what a dump trailer is, because
It's a trailer that dumps.
There's a box on it.
Yeah, there's very different sizes and all that. We were talking maybe about a 14-footer for us, but we could pull it with a pickup truck, and kids can pull brush in it. And this way we're using like the 1 ton on a storm sewer repair, and we need something else that we can put in something that would dump.
like when dump truck dumps, it like lifts up with those hydraulic things. Like
Correct.
it lifts up like with those hydraulic things, but it's just attached with like a 5th wheel or like a normal hitchy thing.
Well, it would be a trailer hitch, a pintle hook, but then the electrics run the hydraulic on the cylinder. So you push a button and it has a ram and everything, so it would dump.
I've never seen these things. Interesting.
They're
Okay.
all around anymore if you really look, so.
Oh, I'm
They're
sure I'll
usually
see them.
big and
Like,
black. They look like a dumpster going down the road.
Yeah.
They're
So,
very popular.
okay. Okay. Anything else? I know we definitely want to wait till mid-year on the dump truck because of the
Yes.
yeah.
price tag, but we've already talked about that ad nauseum, so I don't want to bring that up for the 12th time.
You know, what we did last time was buy the chassis and then buy the bed or something. Did we split it
Yeah.
up, 2 purchases?
Yep, we'll be doing that this time as
Does
well.
this replacement require a new dump bed, or would the aluminum bed still good?
The stainless beds that are on the current trucks, I mean, you could remount them. They are a little, beat up, but we've been getting such great prices when we resell those trucks. Our 1999 dump truck, I think, John, what were we at, like 25, 30,000 for that truck?
24,000 we sold that for, and then the other one was 20,000.
So we've been getting a much higher return on our used trucks, keeping them complete rather than if we just took the dump bed off and sold it as a truck chassis. we
Okay,
wouldn't
all right.
get anything, so.
This truck will be capable of plowing and salting when we get it, so
Right.
I will have it set up for a plow and salt.
From
Okay.
what I understand, those 2 new trucks that we already own are just an absolute dream to operate from a plowing standpoint. Am I correct, John?
Yeah, it's they're air rides, so it is very smooth, especially going down the brick. And with the plows we run, you can't barely feel the plow, so it's wow, you're on cloud 9.
Well, I feel it. I'm on the brick. I see
Wow.
plaster falling off the walls.
I'm sure you do.
So do we have any other questions for Mr. Brockway? It's been a long night. I would like to.
Yeah, it has.
Okay. Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Aaron, before you wrap up, I just want to compliment Christy and Rob for this great presentation. They formatted this. This was the easiest budget review I've been able to sit through, and I've sat through many, many of these. I think Rob and Christy did just a marvelous job getting this in a very readable format, and I wanted to compliment them while everybody was still on.
Agreed.
It's a nice comment. Thank you, Mayor. I agree 100%.
Cool. Okay. So John, feel free to go enjoy your family.
Okay, thank you
If you'd like
guys.
to watch us, you're welcome to. Just say.
Okay, bye-bye.
I'll miss your
Bye.
giant grass.
I'm the Sheen again. So we've been here for 2 hours and 14 minutes. I know we still have some additional pieces to go through. Do we want to do those tonight? Do we want to do them at our council meeting in March? Like, how are you feeling before we jump into the last few pieces?
The last pieces are administrative, and
Yeah.
I'm getting
I'd be about
tired.
a half
I am
hour's
too.
worth of review if you wanted to do it the same fashion we have been.
It's up to you guys. I mean, at this point, my poor husband's put the kids to bed, so I can sit here for another half an hour, but I understand if people are fading and we want to wait and do it at the council meeting.
I appreciate that Rob is probably ready to go, but I would prefer to do it at the council meeting if we could, Rob, it's up to you. I mean, if you're ready to go and
It's
you're ready
fine.
to do it, I'm happy to
Whatever
sit here another
council
half
wants
an
to
hour.
do, it's whatever council wants to do. I could run through it as quickly as you like, and or we could do it at council. I'm comfortable with either.
Jim, Nancy, Andrew, how are you guys
Yeah,
feeling?
I mean, when you say quickly, like 15 minutes, I don't mean to kind of downplay the importance of the review, but it's a budget that we adjust as we go along through the year. It's not the final say on what we spend.
So you
And I
say,
assume, maybe we can just slam it through and get done with it.
why don't we do like 15, 20 minutes, and then we can dive into depth if we want to at the next council meeting.
Sounds good. Let's do
Yeah,
that.
I like
Let's
the
review it.
compromise.
I like it. Yeah, I'd like to get as much done as we can.
Yeah, I think that's a good to approach, Aaron, because everybody will have the budget then for almost
Right.
a month, and any questions come up, that would be the appropriate time.
Okay.
Andrew, you're okay with that too?
Yeah, whatever anybody else wants to do.
Okay, let's go for it. Rob, what page?
Okay, page 2, general fund, A11C, street lighting utilities. That's the cost that we pay per year to keep our street lights lit. So that's the cost the mayor had alluded to, if that we're looking at closely, if we're able to convert to LEDs, to hopefully see a reduction in that line item if that program comes to fruition. Okay, also on that same page is our A11F 439 police and fire communications. That's our annual contract for police and fire dispatch services with Chagrin Valley Dispatch. Okay. We'll move it right along. Okay, we get over to planning and zoning. Page 4, planning and zoning, contractual services. The 18,000 is for our consultants that we hire for planning and engineering. That cost does depend on what projects are submitted for review and what matters we ask our planning consultant to review for us. So some flexibility with that. Under the building department, A14C, you will see there's already been a title change here, but we put in funding for the new building and zoning inspector that we'll be recruiting, that will be training with Harry. We hope to bring them on sometime in April and then have them train with him for a year until his retirement next spring. Also, as we spoke about earlier, we have the 15,000 of the clerk's position that is now being charged to the building department for the work that she spends on work items in this department.
Yeah, before you leave that, one thing I say, we're going to look at what our fees are in comparison to surrounding communities. We think our fees are behind what the other communities are charging, and as the expenses, we want to make sure that we're paying for these building operations and fees and permits. So more to follow on that later.
Yes.
Hey, can I back you up a second? I don't want to stretch. The contractual services that we pay for our dispatch center,
Yes.
was that under fire? Where was that? You said it's
It's a
439.
separate line item. It is.
I'm just curious what that's costing us. I forget what it was.
Bottom of page 2.
Yep, I'm getting to page 2. Hold on. $190,000.
Okay, I got it. Dispatch. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Okay,
Yep. No
thank
problem.
you.
Yep. Let's see where I'm at. Contractual services for building department. The first 4 are dependent on projects submitted for review. Our contracted electrical inspections, our historical preservation reports, plan reviews, and engineering plan reviews for building projects. We did again put in 25,000 for a village design guidelines update. That was an item deferred from last year. And then just our standard annual computer program fees for the programs we use for our building department management.
Okay.
Yep. The mayor's office is pretty self-explanatory. Legislative, let me see if I had anything for legislative. Legislative, A17B is just where we charge the council salaries to, and then general travel, education, and services that support the legislative branch of our village government. And A17C is the court budget. That is for our expenses relating to court operations. Finance department, it's pretty much self-explanatory. Overall cost, nothing major to report. We do have a slight increase in the part-time expense due to our part-time staffer working more hours to complete the meeting minutes for the Architectural Review Board. So her hours have gone up a little bit, and we're budgeting for that. We have some general basic accounts, city auditor, county auditor, treasurer fees, advertising, delinquent lands, state examiner charges. Those are just general operations that we have every year. Nothing too major to report with those.
Do we think we can hold Dale's law department fees down? I know it's gone up over the last couple of years.
But that's up to you.
Yeah, exactly.
So
how many times you call them or email them?
Yeah, so we
Hourly.
Not that much.
So we are budgeting a little less than last year. We feel that we reviewed Dale's cost from last year. He did have a lot of hours attributed to COVID related legal management of laws as they were changing and regulations that came out.
Right.
How to administer our CARES Act funds, things like that. We feel that those items would be reduced.
I think he also had a fair amount of time in it related to Debbie as well.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
There were several one-time legal matters that come across that are reflected in the last year's expense.
It
So,
seems like every year we say that, though. I mean,
We did.
I know.
before
but-
it was a charter review, and then it was the planning, and it just seems. But anyway, we just got to keep an eye on it through the
We're
year.
trying to not use them wherever we can.
Right.
Yeah, I
mean,
appreciate that. I know you do
Yes.
that.
we do, and
Yeah.
we have that mindset here in our office that we contact them only when necessary and go from there with that.
Okay.
Chief Administrative Officer is my office and expenses related to functions of this office. Pretty standard on that. Engineering. Let's see. Engineering is our contractual services, our retainer with CT Consultants. That's that line item.
Is that dependent on the amount of capital improvement projects, or there's additional
No.
fee?
This is his general retainer. There's certain
Yeah, okay.
functions that he provides. It gets covered by that, attending council meetings, general consultation. Anything specific to a project gets charged and billed to that project under the capital budget.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
He itemizes his invoices, and it's very clear what project they're attributed to. The A17X on page 10 is the kind of a catch-all fund for all of the unique projects and services that don't fit into any of the other accounts. We are the other categories. We have our ordinance codifications with Walter Drain, our ambulance billing charge, senior transportation connection, our dues to the Chagrin River Watershed Partners that provides tremendous services in stormwater management for us, our downtown district promotions, which is several different activities that we promote throughout the year and work with them on. Chamber of Commerce band concerts, a Heritage Home Program through the Cleveland Restoration Society, our contribution towards the Farmers Market program. We put in $15,000 for an upgrade to our village website this year, and we're working. We'll be coming up with a plan. Councilwoman DiBernardo will be working with Christie Holmes on putting together a plan and involving others to update our website and kind of rebrand our public message to the community. And then finally, the cost of our 2 paper shredding events. And that pretty much covers general.
Tight.
Taking
Yeah,
good time. Good job.
yes, I'm moving as quick as we can here. Making sure we don't miss anything.
Yeah, I want to highlight everything, but also
I am, anything that is of,
you're doing a good job, Rob.
thank you. All right. So starting on page 13, you start getting into the special revenue accounts and expenses for those. And some of our, like we had talked about earlier, law enforcement reimbursement. A lot of these don't have any planned activities. Law enforcement and education, the chief spoke about that. Police pension fund, 75,000 in that. The K-9 program we already spoke about. Safety town, every year there's roughly, you can see between $2,000 and $5,000 of safety town expenses. This is for events that Catherine Garvey coordinates and puts
No,
on.
Safety Town is what Officer Fisher does at the elementary.
Oh,
school
that's right.
with Incoming kindergartners.
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry.
So you're okay.
You're correct on that. I was thinking of safe routes, the next item down.
Which is like the next thing down.
Also $5,000.
Yes.
I was thinking ahead of myself there. That covers that. We have the coronavirus relief fund. Capital improvements, I know we'll be getting into this in greater detail at a future meeting, but we have that broken down into our D accounts for our general fund style capital improvements, and then we have water and sewer as well under those accounts. I'll get to that in a minute. If any project looks to be sizable and to extend over 1 year, they're given their own title and their own account number. And we have forecasted a very productive capital program for this year that we look forward to describing to you in further detail at a later meeting. So that's kind of an overview of capital. We still have even with a pretty healthy expenditure, we have a good planned carryover at the end of this year. And then just quickly to touch on the capital improvements for water. Let me see where that's at. Give me a moment. I think that's down here. So on page 24, that shows the capital improvements that will be charged to the water account. And then on page 25, we have the planned capital improvements to the sewer fund, sewer reserve capital improvements. And those will all be specified or spelled out to you here in greater detail soon. And that's all that I have. Anybody have any questions or anything I missed?
I appreciate your understanding of the time constraints.
No problem.
Any questions, thoughts for Rob? Okay. I feel like you and each of our department heads gave very good, thorough information tonight. And I want to thank everybody for their time in putting together the budgets and helping outlay what we're going to be doing over the next 12 months here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Unless there's any other questions. Okay, I would then encourage council, even those who were not able to join us in person tonight, to continue to look at that budget, and we'll have it on readings for the next 2 meetings in March.
It has to be adopted at the last meeting in March.
Come on, you're stealing my words here. It has to be passed by March 31st. So we will have it on readings the first meeting in March, and then we'll need to pass it the second. So let's try and have some conversation if we have any concerns or adjustments we want to see at the next meeting. So feel free to reach out to the administration with points of clarity, and I will see you in a couple weeks.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay,
It was a
Yeah.
very good budget, Rob and
Rob.
Thank you.
Dave. Very well done. Okay, thank you.
It'll be an exciting year.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
We're adjourned at 9:30. Thanks, guys.